Now I've been playing F1 games ever since I found a copy of F1 2010 in my dad's games room all the way back when I was 12 years old. I asked my dad if I could have it and he replied with, "You can, but it's shit and you can't keep the car on track." And in that moment I thought, damn, that sounds horrific. Sign me up. Fast forward to 2024 and I have amassed a collection of 16 F1 games. I don't know, I'd probably estimate about 10,000 hours driving in circles. And completed about 6 laps without the racing line. Now I'm sure that with that racing line comment, there's a few people watching this that are starting to doubt my claim of being the greatest F1 game driver of all time. Even saying that sounded unnatural. So in this video I'm going to be playing all 16 F1 games that I own, and I'm not going to be moving on until I've beaten the hardest AI difficulty on every single one of them. So here is our mystery wheel to decide which game we'll be starting on first. I blew all the budget on the intro, so unfortunately I've had to sell on a generic random wheel website. Anyway, it looks like F1 2020 will be our first destination. Some tough AI, but at least there'll be no one in the grandstands to watch me embarrass myself. My relationship with F1 2020 is complicated to say the least. It was the last game I officially league raced on, actually winning the pinnacle of PSGL at the time. F10, but at the same time it was the game I retired from league racing on. Although to be fair to the game, that was mainly due to the community and people just being fucking disgusting sweats because money and esports was involved now. Taking part in 25 races across 2 seasons, I managed 1 win, 9 podiums, 1 championship, and my game highlight being a 2nd place finish in Monaco after pitting on lap 1. Just ignore the gap to P1. I've played this game for 535 hours of my life, so I'd like to think this will be a breeze. I know it won't be, but I'm at least trying to start off in a positive mindset. So here's just a quick confirmation of the settings. I'm doing a 3-lap race and 110 AI on ultimate difficulty. No flashbacks, my usual assists, definitely dry weather, I'm not putting myself through that. And we're going to be doing Japan short because it's quite difficult to overtake. And against 110 AI, I will absolutely fucking need that. So originally I went with Lewis Hamilton for obvious reasons. He was the champion this year and I assumed he would be getting a good automatic qualifying. It didn't work out because, as you can see, I'm not in the top 4. I'm actually starting P6, so this is a great start. Despite already having no hope, I decided to just give it a go anyway. Starting P6, lights out and away we go. And it's actually a pretty average start, to be honest. Yeah, I was just trying to get a feel for the car at this point. I wasn't exactly having high hopes for this run in particular, and for some reason, the 2020 cars are a lot more understeery than F1 23. I basically turned for the corner and it didn't. So I quickly left that race and I went into another one as Max Verstappen this time in the hopes of getting a better qualifying. That's more like it. So we're going to be starting in pole position, so we are going to be restarting this race over and over again until we win this race. It's actually been a pretty decent start off the get-go. We're going to go defensive into turn 1 and let's see if we can actually make it round turn 1 and 2. No, we can't. We run wide and Leclerc gets past us. That is basically game over, but we'll continue anyway. That lasted long. I mean, really at this stage, this was the first time I'd driven this game in, well, 3 years. So I was just trying to get used to the car. Although it wasn't that much different to F1 23, it was definitely something I had to adjust to. As you can clearly see, as I almost run wide at turn 2 once again, but so far this has been our best attempt so far, so long as we don't fuck it up at this corner, and we managed to get through it, although there is a catastrophic understeer moment, and of all people, Valtteri Bottas gets through. And just to add to that, the 2020 Ferrari, of all cars, absolutely cruises past us around our outside, and we drop down to 3rd place, and we break our wing on the back of Charles Leclerc, and this is where this attempt, it just goes wrong in every way possible. So basically what I'd learned so far is I needed a good start off the line, obviously. Turn 2 was understeer as all hell, and turn 7 was absolute hell. We go defensive to Valtteri Bottas on the inside of turn number 1, and turn number 2 we managed to not understeer this time, and we're actually going to hold the lead. But really this was the important corner of the entire thing, because it led to where I would be overtaken if I got it wrong. We weren't confident at all through it, and Valtteri Bottas is really hounding us down the main straight. He goes to our inside despite us trying to go defensive, and that's basically the run over. We're going to stay with him and well, try a typical Max Verstappen move. It actually does work out despite getting a bit of damage, so you know what, I was going to say continue on, that's not worked out. At this point, this is where I remembered that F1 2020, it's much like how F1 22 was. The second you get any kind of damage to your car, you're fucked. Which is why on my next attempt, as I tried to go around the outside of Valtteri Bottas and immediately break my wing, I knew that attempt was over. So not only did I have to stay in the lead the entire race because if the AI got past me, I'd have absolutely no hope of overtaking them because I'm not good enough. I also had to drive cleanly, so I don't really know why I chose Max Verstappen for this game. Anyway, we're under pressure from Lewis Hamilton on the outside of turn number 1 as we come on to lap number 2, and unfortunately Hamilton absolutely mugs me off, gets a cut back on me. We're going to try and go side by side of him. Obviously Verstappen can't do that, so that attempt's over. Now on the face of it, this probably looks really easy, and that's because it is. All I had to do was get a good launch off the line, not run wide at turn 2, get a reasonable exit out of the final corner, and, you know, just defend against AI on the only overtaken place of the track. I'm going to choose the excuse that I wanted to make content for this video, so for that reason I made it look as difficult as humanly possible. On the exit of turn number 2 I run just a little bit wide, and that's enough for Leclerc to go around my outside, and then Verstappen loses his head a bit. Definitely Verstappen and not me. I then continue to not learn my lesson as Valtteri Bottas does the exact same move on me as I run even wider. I mean, Verstappen runs even wider. I then find a whole new way to fail as, Verstappen finds a whole new way to fail as he gets a poor start. We do seem to learn our lesson a little bit. We don't run as wide, but Bottas still gets alongside us, and so we, in typical Verstappen fashion, we take him out, which holds up the entire grid, which is a brilliant win for us. And because of that, despite Leclerc actually catching up at a considerable rate, I decided I didn't really want to beat this challenge this way, even though it wasn't an intentional takeout. Despite me driving as Verstappen, I do decide to bin it into the pit wall. That wasn't an actual mistake, that was intentional. So I did the honourable thing and didn't just take out the AI to win, because that's not really how I want to beat this challenge. I wish I'd just crossed the line, to be honest. Either way, I'd been doing turn 1 of Japan for about 45 minutes at this stage, and I was starting to lose my mind a bit, so I decided to just take a break, go get some fresh air, get some food, have a drink, just do anything other than this for about 5 minutes. And so I did, and it helped quite a bit. So it's lights out and away we go. We get a decent start off the line. We're going to go defensive, even though we don't really need to, against Valtteri Bottas and Charles Leclerc. We go back to the racing line through turn number 1, and hopefully, given the amount of times I've done this, we won't run wide at turn number 2. We don't stick to the racing line, and it's an easy sector 1. But next up, it's the most difficult part. It was the final corner and the run down to turn number 1 to start the second lap. Leclerc gets a brilliant run out the final corner. I don't know how the AI do it, because I couldn't after this many attempts. We try and squeeze him to the outside, try to get him offline, at turn number 2, and we manage to sneak up his inside, back up into the lead of the race. We don't run wide at turn number 2, and that is 1 lap down. At the final corner once again, and this really is the final challenge of this race, given how they can't really overtake on lap number 3. Bottas has just overtaken me on lap number 3, and so's Leclerc as well. He's going to try on the outside. We're going to have to go up the inside of both of these. At turn number 2, we get Leclerc. We don't get the Mercedes. It was going so well. But the important thing is I knew I could defend against these guys on a lap that wasn't lap number 1. All I needed to do was, well, just get lucky really. I didn't really develop any skill when doing this. I was just kind of doing the same thing over and over again and hoping it works. Really, my only hope was getting back up the inside at turn number 1 and 2 when they challenged me down this straight, because I couldn't get a good run at the final corner. We try and squeeze Bottas to the inside, Leclerc on our outside, but we don't actually go up the inside of Valtteri Bottas. We go around the outside and up the inside of Leclerc. That's 1 lap down, 1 to go. So all I need to do is basically do exactly the same thing that I did on the previous lap and not lose my head this time. We try and get a good run at the final corner. We absolutely massively fail that, but cut across at Bottas to halt his momentum just a little bit. We somewhat hold the inside, somewhat go into the middle of the track. We basically got all the cars directly behind us and challenging us, but there's no overtaking. We managed to hold on through turn number 1 and 2. All we need to do now is not fuck it up. Literally the only worry I had now was running wide at the final corner and the AI just sneaking through on my inside. We hug the inside of the final corner and they don't get a good enough run. We are going to win on F1 2020. Fantastic. And that took way too long for it to be the first game.
Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today? Red Bull put up an outstanding...
Absolutely nothing set me apart from the competition today, apparently. Thanks, Ant. So that is F1 2020, 110 AI beaten. That took me 53 minutes. That's how long I was recording for. Let's just swiftly move on. Well, after that torturous experience, I'm really hoping for something easy next. Ideally one of the older games where the AI are incredibly easy and yielding. Oh, thank God, I'm a disgusting sweat at this one. As I mentioned in the intro, F1 2010 was the first F1 game I ever played, living through the brake assist that actually stopped you from overtaking, the horrendous physics, and the absolute elation of having your race engineer actually praise you and make you want to perform. While it's my oldest F1 game, it's still one with probably the most hours out of most of them. Because it's on PS3, I can't see my hours like on PS5, but probably I'd estimate I have around about 700 hours in this game. It's one I'll often go back to and play a couple seasons of. The only issue is my wheel isn't compatible with my PS3. So if you thought my driving was painful to watch with a wheel, I can only apologise for the next 11 minutes. So much like on the last game, this is just confirmation of the settings I'll be running. Again, I'm not going to do qualifying. I'm going to do a 20% race because I feel more confident at beating the AI. I'm going to be using a lot more assist because I am on a controller and I just can't drive without assist on a controller. We're going to be doing realistic rules and flags, tire simulation on, all the usual stuff, and of course Legend AI, and taking away our flashbacks. Eventually. There we go. I decided to go with Bahrain mainly because I know the AI are shocking at this track, and I decided to go with, obviously, Nico Hülkenberg. He's starting P16 in the Williams. A pretty bad car, but I feel pretty confident I'll be able to make this work. So I can't actually see the lights, but it is lights out and away we go. On F1 2010, it's been a phenomenal start straight up into P14. Right behind Felipe Massa, having a shocking random qualifying. We're going to brake late, a little too late, admittedly, but we managed to make it work. We're up into 11th place now as we come out of turn number 3. Right behind Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren and Barrichello in the Williams, and you'll see at this coming corner just how bad the AI are, particularly on lap number 1. We kind of just we can just pick any line we want really. Especially for these two corners. I decided to not go at the inside of Lietzi, but I'm very much just waiting for the AI to get out of the way. They are unbelievably slow, especially through this section. I'll be honest, I don't actually know the corner numbers of this track anymore because of the extra corners on the 2010 version. Nevertheless, at the horrible former turn 9 and 10, we got the inside of Nico Rosberg, straight up into P7, and at the end of lap number 1, we are chasing down Petrov in the Renault, putting it down to standard fuel as we brake later than him, go on the outside at turn number 1, run wide once again, but make the move work, up into P6.
That's 6th place. 6th place.
Thanks, Rob. And once again at turn number 4, we will see just how bad the Legend AI is on this game. I mean, I'm in one of the worst cars, and I'm just dancing around the outside of the current world champion, Jenson Button. And a lap later, we're directly behind Sebastian Vettel for P3 on lap number 3. We could have gone up his inside there, but we decided to just wait. There's not really any point, because if you hit the side of the car, you're basically going to spin around immediately, and yeah, despite being a dominant Red Bull car, we just go straight past him up and into the podium places. Continuing to humiliate the AI as we come into the pit at the end of lap number 3. We pass Kubica, and we're in P2 at the end of lap number 3, but we've got the manual pit stops coming up. Let's see if we fuck it up.
Exit now.
I mean, it's a pretty standard Ferrari time, but for 2010, that's pretty good. On lap 5, and we're just fighting through the cars that haven't pit yet. De La Rosa in the Sauber is up first, back up into P3. He does actually put up a bit of a fight, which is, it's new to see. Surprising that he is the one that puts up a fight. And it actually causes me to almost lose the car, and he's actually, held me off. Obviously, it doesn't really matter, because when he comes into the pit, we are back up into P3 and free to chase down Mark Webber for the race win. I'll be honest, it's looking likely this is going to be a one-take wonder. On lap number 7, we're at our favourite corner and directly behind Mark Webber for the race win. We've got Alguersuari in P1, but he is yet to pit, and he's only just a little bit ahead from this battle. We're practically pushing the Red Bull through these corners. I could go for a risky move, but there's honestly no point. I've got such a pace advantage on these guys, I just need to wait for the overtaking opportunity. Webber does actually have the straight line speed on us, unsurprisingly, in that Red Bull, but it's in the braking zone where the AI just isn't very good at all. And down towards turn number 1, we hit him out of the way and drive off. I mean, we didn't get a penalty for it, so I guess that means it's okay. And unlike on F1 2020, I don't restart, I just sort of go on and win the race quite comfortably from P16.
Absolutely brilliant, mate. Really, really well done, mate. Well done.
I mean, Rob says I did great. Okay, I'll be honest, I did think about restarting after taking out Webber, but let's face it, it was an easy game. It would have been boring, so I decided to just drive on. It would have been the same result anyway. Plus, I'd already spent an hour on a 1.5 minute race in the last game, so just give me this one. So recording for about 25 minutes, we take a comfortable one-take win on F1 2010. Let's move on to the next one. Well, we won on F1 2010 in controversial fashion, but to be honest, that one was never in doubt. Oh, fuck's sake, not this shit. Oh shit, yeah, it's the actual F1 intro, so I can't actually play it. Well, that can be another reason this game sucks. With 324 hours, this is my third least played F1 game out of all 16 of them. The main reason I hate this game is because it just isn't fun to drive. The Christian Horner misconduct allegations has more traction than F1 2020 ever had, and given how long F1 2020 took me, I'm genuinely terrified of this game. I'll be honest, I've got to go really boring with this one, because any other track, I've got no hope of doing this challenge. So I'm going to pick Monaco, I'm going to pick Charles Leclerc, and in the hopes of getting pole position. If I don't get pole position, I'll be restarting until I do, because let's face it, I'm not qualifying any higher than last, and I'm not beating any AI off the line.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him
Thank fuck. Hopefully this can be a one-take wonder like on F1 2010, because I don't want to spend any time on this game more than I have to. We get a good launch off the line, and Science drives directly into the barrier. At least that's a competitor already gone. I decided to go into flashbacks just to have a look at what actually happened to him. I mean, he's not helping himself with getting a new drive for F1 24. He got a phenomenal start until he didn't. But the important thing is we've done the hardest part. We got a good start ourselves. We're in P1. All we need to do now is not crash, and we can basically go as slow as we want. We don't really need to worry about the AI overtaking us. I feel confident that I'll be able to defend against them regardless of any exits out corners, just because it's Monaco. There's not really any threat other than my own driving ability. Coming through the tunnel on lap number 2, we've got Perez actually a little bit closer than we'd like. He's going to go up the inside of the Nouvelle chicane. We decide to cut the chicane because we don't really have a choice. He gets by... Oh, fuck. Well, this has gone downhill quite quickly. Let's see if we can get Perez. Actually, I don't really know how I've done that. We're battling Perez at Monaco, and he's actually got damage and pulled into the pit, so we've retaken the lead. So we're going to go into the final lap with some damage to our car, but crucially in the lead. All we need to do is not outbrake ourselves into turn 1, hold on to the lead, and we might just be able to do this, but it's going to be tricky now. This is very much a Daniel Ricciardo 2018 moment. We can just go as slow as we like. Hopefully Russell doesn't try something stupid into the Nouvelle chicane. We go defensive anyway, miss our braking point once again, get a track extension, but it's fine. We hold on to the position. We've just got one sector to go. It's going to be the hardest, but as long as we can keep it in a straight line, we should be okay. What the fuck was that? Okay, I'm definitely going to have to take a look at this one. I don't know what AI would ever make a move at the swimming pool section. It's not Russell, it's... obviously...
Beautiful. Fucking beautiful.
So just a couple corners to go, we obviously have to start again. Thanks Verstappen, and Russell has got us off the line. That's the end of that attempt. Let's try again. Can we get off the line with good traction? No, we can't. We put it in the wall. What about fourth time lucky? We did it on our first attempt, and luckily this time Russell has got a poor getaway. He's still going to try and run outside, so we're going to put him directly in the wall and basically tell him to fuck off. We've held the lead on lap number 1, and I'll be honest, that was the most exciting moment of my race. As you can see, I am on the final lap now. I've broken my floor at the swimming pool section, but it doesn't matter. Come around the final corner now. It's Monaco. It wasn't going to be a entertaining race. We're going to win on F1 22 in very lackluster fashion. I mean, it was the only way I was going to win. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll admit, with hindsight, my anxiety for this game was over the top, but that's purely based on my starting position and track choice. In any other scenario, I'm still trying to get that win on F1 22. So we take the win on F1 22 in just under 23 minutes of recording. That's mainly because I made it as easy for myself as possible. That by no means represents my ability on F1 22. I absolutely despise this game. There's possibly no other game I'd want to skip less, so at least that's out the way. Let's see what year we're suffering in next. Well, that's boring. I'll be honest, I don't really have a lot to say about F1 23. The career mode sucks. The handling's a little better. Ranks makes me want to kill myself sometimes. But that's just standard F1 stuff, really. I'd like to think this won't take me as long, since it is the game I'm currently playing. I currently have 442 hours on this game, so it's already almost double what I have on F1 22. Yeah, I guess we'll just play the game that I've been playing all year. This sucks. So for F1 23, I actually had to have a think about what track I was going to race at. I tried to think of my best one, that being probably Saudi Arabia, but again, that's incredibly difficult to defend against. But again, I have just done Monaco, so I guess we'll go with Saudi Arabia. We're obviously going to pick the Red Bull because any other car I don't have a hope in. Just checking the difficulty. That's not the difficulty I normally run at. We're going to go up to 110. No qualifying obviously, because it will just hinder me more. And we'll see if I can finally beat the hardest AI on the game I've been playing all year. So the game put us P3, which is pretty manageable actually. I'll probably just keep resetting this attempt. The first attempt though, it didn't go great. We try a very optimistic move around the outside of Carlos Sainz, and obviously it doesn't work. And Sainz pulled away. That's immediately pretty much game over for this run. Oh, did I restart? Oh, I did. Oh, okay. I genuinely forgot that. Well, it turns out Pascon wasn't happy with P3 as a starting position. So we restarted, and he now is on pole position with Lance Stroll in P2. In this new position, this should be unbelievably easy. But let's see how he makes it look. So I guess this is my second attempt now. Lights out and away we go. I'm hoping we can stay ahead of Lance Stroll. He's going to have a look upper inside into turn number 1. We're going to run wide. And please don't tell me Lance Stroll has... Okay, so this is my second attempt, I suppose. Lights out and away we go. And we get a phenomenal start off the line. Lance Stroll's not going to be challenging us at all. Of course he isn't, it's Lance Stroll. He could never challenge anyone. We're going to be leading out of turn number 2. I'll be honest, before we get into this lap properly, I don't know the corner numbers for this track at all. But now we have the lead of the race, it's just a matter of managing the battery and defending like our life depends on it. I'll be honest, I probably spent more time this race looking behind me than I did in front of me, because I was just looking at what the AI were doing and basically just driving horrifically to keep everyone behind me. They're basically just forming an army behind me. And now we go on to the final lap of the race. We're still in the lead, but DRS are going to be enabled, and we're going to have to basically just drive like Verstappen if we want to hold on to this. It's our only hope, really. So here is the first real DRS zone we have to defend against. We're going to use our battery to try and compensate for that. We've got Sainz, Norris, Hamilton and somehow Stroll directly behind us. We defend against the first DRS straight. Now we're followed by the second and the third up to the line. We get a decent exit out of whatever corner number that just was, and head down to the final corner. This is normally where the AI make an audacious dive. It looks like they're a little bit far back. We're going to go defensive anyway. Sainz tries to run our outside. We're just going to push him wide. We're going to be leading out of the final corner, and with the help of battery, it's going to be another easy win in a row.
Fantastic drive, that's just fantastic, amazing, you deserve that race win, well done mate.
I don't think I do. Okay, I'll put my hands up and say that was cut down quite a bit. There was a lot more attempts of me just not getting off the line and not leading through Sector 1. It definitely wasn't a one-take wonder, but let's be honest, no one clicked on this video wanting to see F123 content. Let's just all be honest here. We got the win on F123 in 29 minutes and 43 seconds of recording. I mean, let's just move on. This is the most boring one on the list, really. We've had a series of easy or boring games, so let's hope this next one is something a little bit different. Okay. This one's gonna expose me a bit. F1 2017 was the game I switched from controller to wheel. It was also the game I league raced on the most and subsequently put in the most hours for. I feel like the only games that could rival my hours on F1 2017 would be 2012 or 2013, but I somehow have 1,293 hours on this game, which is surprising since most of it was spent suffering with a wheel. In these 1,293 hours I raced in 3 leagues, started 73 races, won 2 of them, had 13 podiums and 0 championships. That may not sound like a good return on 1,293 hours worth of racing, and that's because it isn't. As usual, this is this confirmation on the settings. We're doing a 3-lap race, random qualifying, 110 AI, no flashbacks, the usual stuff. And I will be racing at Singapore because back on F1 2017, I was absolutely incredible at this game. Track. Fuck. We start on pole. I'm just going to cruise over that mistake. We start on pole as Lewis Hamilton. Hopefully this won't take me too long. So it's lights out and away we go for my first attempt on F1 2017 downloading content. Down towards turn number 1, we have a severe lockup, and I will say that actually took me by surprise because I didn't race with no OBS back on 2017, so I do 2 corners and immediately have to pause it to just think about what I'm doing. After I've had a few moments to process the ABS and this challenge, I decide to unpause and continue on with this attempt. We lock up into the next corner and Bottas very easily goes on my inside, and we've lost the lead in record time. Wow. I don't have a lot of faith in myself. Well, attempt number 2, I clearly didn't expect, once the air got past me, to, you know, be able to catch up with them. We lock up into turn 1, and this time Vettel comes out of absolutely nowhere, which is very unrealistic because at this stage he was driving backwards down the track. This time though, I don't immediately pause and restart the session. I kind of wish I had, to be honest. That was kind of embarrassing. Oh, I forgot I did this. I give up on ABS almost immediately. Okay, so we now have ABS on the car, so I expect this to be a breeze now. We get a decent launch off the line, down towards turn number 1, downloading content, and it's a nice calm start to the race. We've got no pressure, we're making a bit of a meal out of turn number 3. Running wide on the exit, but we've got a little bit of a gap to Vettel and Bottas as they battle down towards turn number 4, I want to say. It doesn't really matter what corner number that was, although I'd love to know what corner number this is, as I once again have the 2020 issue of understeering into the barrier, which is a shame because I've got a pretty good lead at the moment, and now I've fucked it. I did have a suspicion that any slight damage on this game would basically cause me to be out of the race, especially on a 3-lap race, but I decided to continue anyway, just to see how bad it is, and I basically have to overdrive the car and cut corners and get penalties. So it's not really working out for me. Regardless, I power on through just to get some practice because I suspect I'll be driving with a broken wing quite a bit on this game. We're under pressure from Valtteri Bottas down the main straight. He goes up our inside and there's not really a lot we can do with a broken wing. We've lost the lead, we've got a penalty. I don't think this is the one. And nothing proved this more than just how I handled the hairpin section. I mean, there's not really a wall I haven't hit in this scenario, and Vettel, oh no, it's not even Vettel, it's Raikkonen. Raikkonen goes up my inside. That's even more humiliating than Vettel. So we now know the second I get damage, it's basically game over and there's not a lot I can do. So attempts, I've forgotten what number attempt this is. Either way, we're off to a brilliant start. We've cut turn 1, but at least we've held the lead. Heading through Sector 3 now, downloading content. We're coming into my favourite part on any of the tracks on F1 2017. This is where I gained all the time on everyone else. That's probably because I was a corner cutting menace. I didn't like that I called myself that. That made me feel really uncomfortable. Well, it's a shame I got that penalty on lap number 2 because you now join me at the end of the final lap. I've broken my wing on the exit of that horrible section that I got a penalty at. We're going to cross the line and actually finish the race in P1, but penalties are obviously going to set me back to 5th place. But the important thing to take away from that was I was able to hold on to the lead if I cut corners. So all I need to do is not be a cheating scumbag. So despite losing a successful attempt to penalties, I'm actually going into this next attempt with a positive mindset. It quickly goes as I get a poor start and I'm side by side with Sebastian Vettel through turn 1, 2 and number 3, and he does actually get up the inside. At turn number 3, that's not good. We try to get a good run down the main straight and we actually do catch the Ferrari until at least I hit the wrong button on my wheel and end up changing the camera angle, which really, really distracts me. And I'm not saying that that my mistakes right now are purely down to the camera change, but it definitely didn't help. So far we've only finished one race and it was with a penalty, but I know I've got the skill at this game to actually finish a race. How the hell has Bottas tried to pull that move off? Either way, it's not made it work, but that's very uncharacteristic. Anyway, I'm aware I have the ability to win this race so long as I don't, fall victim to the horrible corner cut penalties. Singapore obviously isn't the easiest track to overtake, with this corner only really being the only chance the AI have. Succeeding in this game purely came down to me not making mistakes for 3 straight laps. which admittedly is a big ask. If I had to name one weakness of mine, it would have to be consistency. I mean, I'm probably one of the quickest people on this game, but doing it lap after lap, he says that he puts in the fast lap of the race like an absolute champion. Just, you know what, ignore what I just said. On lap number 2, Vettel and Bottas still don't challenge me down towards the braking zone of this corner, which is a very good sign. All I need to do is defend down the DRS straight on the following lap, which is going to be a lot harder, but from what I remember, this game isn't that strong when it comes to DRS. Coming through Sector 3 now, we just about don't cut that corner once again, downloading content. As we come to the end of the penultimate lap, we're still in a pretty good position, and you know, we've got a train of cars behind us, and they are going faster than us, unfortunately, but we've got one lap to defend against them. This could be a quick win, or I could fuck it up right now. I'm already feeling the pressure. I'm running wide on the exit of turn number 3, down towards turn number 4 or 5. I can't remember. Can we get a good exit? Not really. Not really. We're going to have to defend against Vettel. Down towards turn number 6 or 7 or whatever it is. We go defensive to Vettel. He goes around our outside, and he's done it. We're going to try and fight him through the next corner. We're up his inside, but he's managed it. We're going to have to go attacking, try and go on the outside at the following corner, and he's just embarrassed me there. He's really embarrassed me. So I've got one sector to try and get back past him. Around the outside of the hairpin obviously isn't going to work. And because there's no ERS, we've only really got the fuel to play with. Are we going to have a look at the inside? No, we're not. I mean, we're going into Sector 3 now. I think this is over. I continue to push on in the hopes that Vettel maybe broke his wing on the barrier when he tried to overtake me. And in doing so, I have a complete and utter meltdown. And somehow hold on to P2. I'm not really too sure how I've managed this. Oh, no, scrap that. I've run well at the final corner and I finished 3rd. I don't think you'll see a meltdown quite that dramatic on the last lap in the history of racing. So that last attempt, I'll admit, kind of hurt. We put in all the work and we just got caught out on the DRS straight. So hopefully this time we can learn from our mistakes, and basically when Vettel tries to overtake us on lap number 3, we're just going to take him out. Download the content. Predictably, lap number 1 and 2 were pretty boring. We weren't really under pressure, and as we come on to the final lap of the race, we're leading by a pretty substantial margin. I imagine the AI will be able to catch onto the back of me just before DRS straight, but luckily we've only got to defend against Bottas this time and not Vettel. Now you may think I'm just being mean to Bottas in this scenario, but as we come down the straight, Bottas is absolutely nowhere to be seen if I don't look behind me. And because we had the world's best number 2 driver directly behind us on the last lap, it means we're going to take an easy win, much like Hamilton did many times on F1 2017. We're going to win in Singapore, and you know what? That could have been worse. That could have been worse.
And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today.
By track conditions, I assume he meant just limited overtaking opportunities. That's really what won me this challenge today. Much like 2020, that took a lot more time than it probably should have, but unlike 2020, that was pretty fun. I enjoyed revisiting that game, and with a recording time of 34 minutes, it wasn't too time consuming either. So that's my most played F1 game, beaten on the hardest difficulty. And we're off to my least played F1 game next. This won't go nearly as smoothly. Now F1 2011 is a weird one. I caught F1 2010 as my first F1 game, as I mentioned, but a few months later F1 2012 came out, and that took priority, so I never actually played 2011. This was until I found it in a second-hand game shop in 2014. To anyone playing the latest F1 game back then, I'm sure you'll all know why. For this reason, I estimate that F1 2011 is my least played F1 game. To add to this, it was a unique handling model only seen on this game, and because it's old gen, I need to use a controller. As usual, this is just the assists and settings. I've put a lot of assists on because 1, I'm on a controller, and 2, I despise this game. And there's your confirmation of Legend AI and Zero flashbacks. Now originally when I started this game I wanted to go with a track that, you know, had its last appearance on F1 2011, so I went for Turkey, which is a horrible track for me and I don't really know why I chose it. I also chose the Mercedes because I thought this game would be pretty easy and I need a challenge. As you can see, this isn't going well, so I swiftly quit. Now I did try driving the Mercedes at Turkey for around about 20 minutes and it didn't really go well, hence why I've not shown you much. And because I was on a controller with a weird handling model and I didn't really have a lot of experience on this game, I did something that I thought I'd never have to do in this challenge. I practiced on time trial.
We don't need no walkie-talkies, no walkie-talkies. We don't need your coffee went off in the morning coffee, no. We don't need no walkie-talkies, no walkie-talkies. We just want a hermit tree to stay and a coffee to go. And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on the wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls on a brand new day. Saw what he saw, property owners who crawled on the mall with a bad toupee and a face like he authored the law, face like he mourning a loss. Right hand on a can of worms, left full of gold he will trade for turf. I mean that's okay, you got an answer to you at the end of the volatile day, but a model of mercy you might no way. Marionette will clap and obey. Dude, look, all that noise, call that flight of the water boys. Meet and greet and they all slap five, cheek to cheek when they colonize. And a grown-ass man shall abide as he wish. Walk that path with a diamond and stick, walk that path with a diamond and wine, walk that path to the firing line, just walk. Pay no mind to the new recruit with the Play-Doh spine.
And for the first time in this video, I decided to actually qualify, mainly because I've been practicing on time trial. You can see by some of my lines that the practice, well, it wasn't good practice, but in the end I managed to qualify in P2. We're going to be starting second on the grid and we're going to be restarting this attempt until we get the win. The reason I didn't restart qualifying until I got a pole position is mainly because of the KERS system. Because there's this great function on F1 2011 where you can start on the front row and it doesn't really matter because you'll be leading into turn 1 anyway. I will say though, this doesn't always work. This is actually my second attempt. I for some reason cut what happened on my first attempt, so it must have been really bad and embarrassing. The KERS system doesn't work on attempt 2. We're side by side with Hamilton through turn number 3. Got the inside line though, so we're going to use a little bit of KERS to get ahead of him, open up the steering, and we're leading once again. Luckily the 2011 cars are basically bumper cars, so I don't really have to worry about damage too much. You may have noticed by now I'm doing a 10% race, so I've got 7 laps to hold on to the lead. I don't really know why I made this difficult for myself, but we've committed now, so we're going to have to do a 7-lap race, and it's going to be tricky given how there's no DRS yet, and Hamilton's already challenging us down towards turn number 1. We managed to get him under braking, but you can see my driving is far from... I don't deserve this Red Bull, let's just say that. It's completely fair to say that the only reason I was staying in the lead at this point was the KERS system, and as we come to the end of lap number 2, we're alongside Hamilton once again down towards turn number 1. He's got the inside line, but luckily the AI aren't very good in the corners, but neither am I, so you know it levels out really. You can tell I'm holding up the field because Heinfeld has got the fastest lap of the race. We make contact with Hamilton at the exit of turn number 3, and now Alonso is into P2, so I'm so fucked. Coming out of the final corner now, this is the first time we're going to have to see how effective the DRS is. We're going to use a lot of our battery, and basically the strategy for this race is going to be holding onto our battery, ideally all of it for this main straight, and sort of just pray between turns 3 and 4 that the DRS isn't that great, or I can get a good exit out of turn 3, but let's be serious, that's not going to happen. A full battery does seem to be enough to defend into turn 1, but if we have to use battery down this straight as well, we're going to be in serious trouble. Luckily we've got a bit of a gap to Alonso, and we're able to hold on to the lead on lap number 4. Thankfully it seemed the AI just wasn't good enough in the corners, so I didn't really have to worry about being under pressure in Sector 2. Sector 2 was more about me trying to get clean lines and hopefully open up the gap to the AI for that final straight. Round number 2, as we head on to lap number 5, if we did a 3-lap race or even possibly a 5-lap race, this would be an easy win for us, but because we picked 7, I'm just putting more and more pressure on myself, and I'm not afraid to admit that every single lap that went by, I was absolutely shitting it. But for the most part, as long as I could keep my pressure and stress, contained, I was doing alright. I mean, I had to lead the race, I had a good strategy, just using my battery down this main straight. As we come into the final lap of the race, it's looking pretty comfortable. It may look that way, but I can assure you it wasn't. The pressure I was feeling at this point is shown as I cut turn 2, something I've not done the entire race, and I'm just being incredibly sketchy on the wheel or controller. I've got a phenomenal gap to Alonso, so really there's absolutely no reason to be under this kind of pressure, but as you can clearly see, I don't really know what happened. I just completely destroyed myself mentally. I'm pretty sure on this final lap there wasn't a single corner that I took with any level of just, I don't even know the words. I mean, I've lost the lead of the race to Alonso. I've taken out Button. I go for a desperate dive on Alonso, which obviously doesn't work. I'm going to lose a place to Hamilton. I've just absolutely crumbled on this last lap for no real reason other than I'm just not that mentally strong. As we come out the final corner, I've lost the back end, and what looked like a short win after 7 laps is going to be absolutely nothing. Yeah, I've got no words. It's just, I genuinely felt pressure against 2011 AI. I've got a penalty because I took out Maldonado, completely deserved. Coming to the pit, and we finish in P18. I've genuinely got no words. I'm not even gonna lie. I was feeling pressure from completing this challenge, and that's what caused me to spiral, and I have no idea what happened. And unfortunately, this would be a pattern that would follow me on this game as I try and beat this challenge. I would do, pretty okay for 5, maybe 6 laps, and then I just couldn't do it on the last lap. I mean, I've taken out Hamilton, which was a very interesting defensive move. We're going to lose the next attempt to Button because despite being directly behind him, I just didn't have the pace to actually overtake him. We're on the last lap for another attempt, and you'll once again see I'm just not very good at this game. We've once again got a decent gap to Hamilton and P2. It's not actually that big a decent gap, to be honest. But coming down towards turn number 4, Hamilton's upper inside, and despite having the pace in sector 2 on a wheel, on a controller even, I couldn't really cope. We're side by side with Hamilton. We're cutting basically every corner we can. The game's not giving us anything. We run horrifically wide at the following corner, and once again we've bottled an easy win. I genuinely don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I've been doing this for about 3 hours by this point. I just could not do this on F1 2011. I felt so much pressure on lap number 7, and every single time it would get the better of me. And I've felt pressure. I've league raced for many years. I've felt a lot of pressure in racing, and normally it didn't really affect me. However, there was something about the Legend AI on F1 2011 that just fucked with me. But to be honest, I didn't really have a lot of choice. All I could do was keep restarting until I got it, until I didn't crumble on lap number 7. I mean, the rest of the race was absolutely fine. I took the lead into turn 1 pretty much every single time. And with the strategy for my curse system, I was able to defend against the DRS at basically every time I've asked it. You can tell I've been playing this a lot because of the gap between me and P2, because I was genuinely getting better at controlling this car. I had a 1.4 second gap, so I was actually out of DRS from P2, and still I'd find a way to close that gap and be under pressure. So as we come on to the final lap, my favourite lap in this challenge, we're 8 tenths ahead of Button, so we've still got a pretty decent margin, although he will have DRS and probably challenge us down towards the line. It could be a photo finish. He's going to have DRS down this straight to close the gap. Hopefully we can get a good sector 2 and open that gap back up. We easily have our cleanest last lap sector 2 of this entire recording. As we come to the final corner, we're 1.1 seconds ahead of Button. We are out of his DRS, so unless we have a catastrophic breakdown, we should be able to take this win finally on F1 2011, and we do. Finally, we win on 2011. That took way too long for how difficult AI was. That was probably one of the easiest AI I've faced against other than 2010. and that was awful. That was arguably some of the easiest AI I will face against. I'm pretty sure it's known that 2011 AI is one of the easiest in the franchise. And it wasn't even down to the AI. I struggled with the car. And I wasn't very good. And I paid for it with my time. And sanity. This one took me 1 hour and 10 minutes of recording. It's the first, and spoiler alert, only one that I went to time trial to practice. And I'll be honest, it really shouldn't have been this one. If I had a practice token to use, I really shouldn't have used it on this game. This should have been a walk in the park, and it just wasn't. But the important thing is, it's done. Finally, I never have to play that game again. I'm looking forward to a more fun handling model. Oh, for fuck's sake. Being another old gen game, I can't see the hours I put into F1 2014, but I can confidently rank it as my second least played F1 game. Ahead of 2011, but behind F1 22. Much like F1 22, it just isn't enjoyable to drive. And I'm pretty confident in saying I went back to F1 2013 soon after getting F1 2014, because it was just that unenjoyable. On the plus side though, the AI, from what I remember, is pretty easy. But I do remember that about 2011. So this could be another long one. Once again, I get the joys of using the controller assist because I can't drive without assist on a controller. And we're going to be doing Legend AI and obviously no flashbacks. I decided to go to Austria in the Williams of Valtteri Bottas for a 5-lap race. The reason I've not started this at the start of the race is because I quickly realised the Mercedes is OP as all hell. So I ended up restarting and going as Sebastian Vettel in the Red Bull. Again, I just didn't have a hope in hell of catching the Mercedes. You can see I'm not doing too bad in the corners, but on the straights they would just fuck off. So given how I just spent over an hour on F1 2011, I really didn't want to play this game for more than I had to. So I decided to just make it as easy for myself as I possibly could. So you join me in the Mercedes. We did random qualifying, so we'll start P5, so there's a little bit of a challenge. But against this AI, hopefully this should be pretty easy. Lights out and away we go. Straight up into P4, past Sebastian Vettel, around the outside. Well, I say around the outside. Through Hamilton we go, through turn number 1. But we decided to restart because that was quite aggressive even for Rosberg. So lights out and away we go for, I guess, our 4th attempt, if we count the Williams and the Red Bull. We get a good start. We're going to be side by side with Bottas around the outside of turn number 1. Hamilton gets scared offline, I assume by Rosberg. That's pretty understandable. Straight up into P1 on the exit of turn number 1. Ricciardo actually has P2, so if he can hold up Hamilton for as long as possible, that'd be brilliant for me. I feel like Hamilton will be my only threat this race. And given how Hamilton is my only threat, really, it's great to see that it's a double Red Bull podium on lap number 2. Obviously the Red Bull is quick through this section here, and being on the controller, I definitely am not. However, we come back on track very safely. We get a questionable penalty for it. Not sure I agree with that. I feel like Ricciardo... I'm not even going to try and argue that. That was disgraceful. So we know we're able to exploit the easy AI in this game. All we need to do is not be an idiot and not get any penalties. This should be pretty easy. We're side by side with Ricciardo through turn number 1 on the exit with the Mercedes engine. We should be able to pull away from him quite easily. It's not looking as easy, but with the help of slipstream from Hamilton up the inside of turn number 3. Do we make contact? No, we don't actually make contact. That's very unrealistic. It does mean, though, we're going to have to challenge Hamilton down towards turn number 4. It looks like there's going to be a race-long battle between the Mercedes cars. We're on the outside as we come towards the braking zone. And, yeah, the AI, they're not very good, even on Legends, and we kind of cruise ourselves up to P1. It's pretty easy. And yeah, lap number 3 now. We still have the leads. Yeah, the AI just they're just not very good in this game. They're very easy to defend against. They don't really go for moves. They don't really put pressure on you. Honestly, there's not really a lot to say. I'm making it as difficult for myself as possible by just driving stupidly, but yeah, like that's the perfect example into turn number 1. Hamilton had a clear move up my inside, and he just backs out of it. That's the story of F1 2014, to be honest. Yeah, basically the entirety of this race, I was just fighting with myself. As long as I didn't make mistakes, I was going to win, and we do. That was really boring. That was really boring. I hate this game. I'm sure some people will question my methods, but I'd argue it's just how the game's built. It makes it incredibly easy for the player. All that matters though is I beat Legend AI in 43.5 minutes. All that time was more or less spent in the menus because I was switching between the Williams and the Red Bull. That's where that time went, really. But that's another game down. Let's take a look at what's next. I haven't actually tackled many of my league racing games so far, only 2017 really. The wheel is mainly focused on giving me the most stress, but let's see what's next. Obviously this isn't a game I played a lot of, but I can confidently say I played it more than F1 22. For some reason. To anyone that doesn't know, this is essentially Mario Kart Wii. I'm calling it Mario Kart Wii specifically because anyone familiar with the term Mario Karted, as you'll see over the next however long I was suffering with this, I got F1 race starred. I don't know if there's not really a term for it. The only issue with this game is there isn't really a difficulty setting. It's actually more based on CC. I'm going to assume that 3000cc is the most difficult, so that's what I went for. We then had the incredibly difficult choice of picking what driver we will be racing as. There's obviously a lot to choose from, they've each got their own special abilities. Of course I went for him. This game is fucking insane. 5 lights, this is going to be incredibly difficult to commentate over. We don't get a good launch because I couldn't remember how, so we are immediately on the back foot, but then again, we're Kartikeyan, we're always going to be on the back foot. I fucking despise the delivery of this HRT. As we go full throttle down the Ferrari the Ferrari ride in Abu Dhabi, we get something which is basically a bullet bill. We're going to cruise through everyone. We're straight up in the first place. That's a phenomenal overtake by Narain Kartikeyan. We very nearly get hit by a yellow bubble thing, which Nico Rosberg takes the hit for us. We're going to jump into an airport. We've got a yellow bubble to use. We're hitting walls, but luckily there's no damage. We're going to fire the yellow bubble straight forward, which was kind of pointless. We're now on the threat of hitting ourselves with the bubble. We're getting closer to it, and we luckily just miss it. Roman Grosjean cruises around our outside. We're now going over some construction stuff, and we're going into a desert. It's going quite well so far. We're on lap number 1 of 2. We've run wide into the sands, and we're losing positions. It's now raining in the desert, and we're hitting walls, and we're going in sand once again. We've got a random person who I don't know the name of. We've hit a I don't really know what's going on, to be honest. We're going to cut turn number 13, and then we're going to miss the apex of turn 14 by a country mile. Around the final corner for the first lap. We're currently sitting 9th. Can we get any people out of the exit of the final corner? Yes, we can. Up to 8 as we come into the final lap of the race. And we're gonna... it's fucking raining again. As we challenge Kira in the desert, we're battling for 7th place as we come to the final few corners, which admittedly isn't the best. But then we've got a late safety car, which could come in clutch. We're going to overtake Paul di Resta under safety car conditions. We're going to drift in the wet. as we come to the final lap, the safety car has already finished the race, and so has some other people. And we come home in P7. That was incredibly torturous. Apparently we're a speed fanatic, which doesn't fit kart skating at all. Okay, so obviously this is it's very difficult to commentate over because it's just complete and utter chaos. This is what I imagine commentating over Mario Kart would be like. You can't really commentate over it, I feel. I decided to go for Maldonado at Brazil because this game is chaotic, and if there's one chaotic driver that could counteract the chaos, it's got to be Maldonado. We actually do get the boost off the line because we're learning. We have a very interesting line through the center S, and we're now covered in confetti. Get a good exit out of turn number 2, and as we go to the I guess the market of Brazil, we found ourselves in second place somehow. I don't really remember passing many people. Someone has hit the carnival, that's embarrassing for them, and we find ourselves in first place. And this is where the bullshit starts to take effect. If you look on the map on the right hand side, you'll see someone just kind of appears ahead of me, like by quite some margin. Also, the safety car is quite far behind until it spawns back, but I'm not gonna, question that. We managed to hit Kimi Raikkonen, and we managed to take the shortcut of this track. Not successfully, but that player just sort of spawning in front of me, that was an issue I had to deal with the entire time I was on this game. As we start the final lap, we find ourselves in P1, and we learn that we can't fire the red shell behind us, but we hold a decent lead currently. Not really anyone directly behind us. As long as we get a clean lap, this should be an easy win for us, and we can move on to bigger and better things. As we head through the jungle, you can see I've got a substantial lead over P2, and then Jean-Eric Vergne just comes out of absolutely fucking nowhere, hits me into the water, and he's just gone. Then it rains, which is, typical Brazil really. We've got a pulse shocking thing, so we're going to get close to Jean-Eric Vergne and just, hit him out of the way. And then someone else just spawns in front of me. And spoiler alert, I'll never see them. We try and fire some yellow bubbles, but whoever's in first has just appeared in first and fucked off. I then managed to hit myself with my own yellow bubble, and it all goes downhill from here. So we managed to just about hold on to P2 in this race, which we don't really care about. I'm more interested in who the hell is P1. It's Vergne apparently, who I distinctly remember hitting with a purple pulse thing. So I don't really know how he's managed that. I'll be honest, I was really starting to get annoyed and angry by this point. I've been playing F1 games for almost 5 hours. So I decided to go to Singapore as Nico Hulkenberg. Absolutely no reason to pick him other than the fact he's Hulkenberg. And this was annoying because it wasn't like I was getting any better. This was just pure luck. This is way worse than Mario Kart Wii. As we come around the final corner at the end of lap number 1, we're right behind Kira, and then we pass Kira on the exit. Go on to lap number 2, in first place, just. But it doesn't really matter. I ruined my boost at that corner because I run wide, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. There's no point really commentating over any of this because it's all kind of just luck. There's not really any skill. You can see someone on the map has just kind of spawned in front of me and has absolutely gone. Like, they're still going. I don't really know what they've done or how they've done this. And we're now on lap number 3. I've managed to just about catch the person, but there was also another person ahead of me now. We missed them with the yellow bubbles. And, shocker, I'm not going to win this one because first place has just fucked off. Who the fuck even is it? You can fuck right off. Okay, so I was genuinely getting quite genuinely tense right now. I was getting really fucking angry at this piece of shit game because it made absolutely no sense. So after 3 times of getting fucked over, I decide to not practice because there's absolutely no fucking point, as we've established. But I decide to do some research and look online for who is the best person to be. I mean, there's got to be someone. Not that I was at all convinced that it would make any fucking difference, but I was at least hoping there would be some kind of OP person I could be, and just hopefully give me some luck in this piece of shit game. So after some research, I decided to go with a Red Bull car. We're going to be Mark Webber for the British Grand Prix. If it is called the Grand Prix, I don't really know. Basically, the Red Bull's ability is in the slipstream, he gets himself a boost, which may come in handy, it may not. If first place is fucking miles up the road, I'm obviously not going to get slipstream, so I'm not going to get a boost, so it doesn't really matter, but we'll see how it goes anyway. You can see in the slipstream off button and we immediately get a boost, so this should come in handy. Admittedly, I still need to just not be fucked over by the just spawning AI in first place, about 500 metres up the road. At the end of lap number 1, the safety car is out due to God knows what, so I decided to make my pit stop to save some time, fix our car onto the final lap and have a shocking pit exit. On the plus side, we get a phenomenal bank shot. That was quite satisfying to see. As we're heading through the factory though, in P4 apparently, I don't really know how I've made up those positions, you can see it's time for first place to just disappear, and then second place decides to disappear as well. I've suddenly found myself in third place. I don't really know how, but it doesn't matter because first and second place are miles up the road. I also decide to try and go through that hay bale. I thought I had to boost to get through it. Turns out I have to wait for the jets to fly overhead. They fly overhead shortly after I hit the hay bale, so I lose all my positions. But again, it doesn't really matter because first place was just gone. I decided to stick as Mark Webber and actually go back to Brazil because I felt like I had the best pace there, and well, I feel like I had the best chance, and if I stuck with a track, hopefully I'd be able to learn the shortcuts and how to drive it, and I don't know, I was trying anything in this stage. We find ourselves in P3 going around a corner until just it rains, I drift out onto the grass, I hit the wall and lose my boost. And then suddenly, within the space of about 6 seconds, I find myself in 7th place. Then we cut across some lily pads and go up into the lead of the race. Then the safety car comes out. It's just fucking chaos. I also need to give a quick shout out to this little bitch, Jessica. I get in a slipstream down the final straight. Then she bubbles me right across the line and breaks my car. I then decide to try and get back at her by taking a shortcut over the Senna S. Then I miss the boost on the Senna S, so I've lost even more time. Coming into the market, we get a maximum boost out of the corner, jump onto the rooftop and somehow jump up into first place, taking the lead of the race with about 2/3 to go. We've got Paul di Resta director behind us, but we then hit one of the stupid mascot things. So we have to come into the pit, and we're going to lose all our time. We're battling with, I think it's Button through the pit. But all of this means absolutely nothing. We're coming out of the final corner now. As you can clearly see on the map, first place finished about 15 hours ago. Yeah, we finished the race in 3rd. This is great fun. I'm having a fantastic time. Nevertheless, we try again. We're going to stick in Brazil with Mark Webber. I feel like the Red Bull is the best car to be on this game, even though it may not look like it because I've not won a fucking race. We get a poor start in comparison to everyone else, which I don't really understand, but it doesn't really matter because I normally start in last place for the first 2 corners, and then through various methods, for example, just hitting everyone out of the way, we find ourselves at the top of the field a few seconds later. I mean, there's no point analysing the start of this race because, as you can clearly see, I've just gone from 12th to 1st. Now you join me at the end of lap number 1, on to the final lap of the race. I currently sit P1, which means I probably won't be winning this one. We've got a decent gap to P2, but that means absolutely nothing. I'm sure in a few seconds someone will spawn ahead of me and go on to win this race by 6 laps. Oh, Oh, it's my turn. Oh shit, we're gonna win. We've won. We've won by a fucking mile. We've actually fucking dominated. You know, it's almost like when the game doesn't purposely fuck me over and I'm actually able to drive properly, it's actually pretty easy. I'm actually pretty good at this game. Now, that was painful. That was really, really painful. I've got written down it only took me 36 minutes, but honestly, I don't believe that for a second. That felt like it took days. I genuinely feel mentally drained, both after playing that and rewatching that. That was horrific. Basically, what you've just witnessed is me playing F1 Race Stars for 36 minutes, until the game RNG decides to go, you know what, he suffered enough. That was absolutely awful because it wasn't skill based, it was just luck. I didn't achieve anything then. I didn't get better, I didn't figure out shortcuts or tricks or whatever. I picked the best car, but I got fucked over when I used that best car. Didn't matter. Honestly, after the combination of 2011 and F1 Race Stars, I'm genuinely losing my mind a bit. I'm honestly like fucking struggling. What shit games have we got left? Let's have a look. We've got F1 2018. That's alright, I guess. We've got F1 21. That's alright. F1 2019, fine. 2016, love that game. 2012, that'd be interesting. 2013, love that game. 2015, you can fuck off. The thing is though, I may like most of the games coming up, but at the same time, I don't know how long they're going to take me. I thought 2011 would be one of the easiest games I'm playing today. It took me an hour. F1 2020 we started with, it took me almost an hour to do 1.5 minutes of racing. I think it's in my best interest to take a break. I'm just gonna not play F1 for a bit. My dog's barking. That's a brilliant time. I'm gonna go check on my dog. Yeah, that's thank you, Milo. That's a great distraction. You know what? I'm gonna go check on my dog. I'll see you guys later.